Hello, class. This video is for those of you who are thinking of writing on Edgar Allan Poe for Essay 1. Remember, you have a choice of 3 different prompts for Essay 1. You do not have to write 3 essays. Do not panic. You pick one of the 3 prompts and you deliver a thesis-driven response to it of about 3 pages or so. So I'll go ahead and go over the prompt with you, and then if you have any questions, you can email me. All right. So optional essay 1 over the short stories of Edgar Allan Poe. Right now, the due date is Sunday, September 25th at 11:59 p.m. That's midnight. The length requirement is 1,000 words minimum and 5 paragraphs. You do want to have 5 full paragraphs. 1,000 words is about 3 pages. It needs to be in MLA format, which if you're in 1102, it means you passed 1101, so you should know about MLA format. If you need a refresher or a reminder, you can reach out to me through email or come by my office. Also, there are resources for MLA in the Writing Resources folder, or you can go to the Purdue OWL, that stands for Online Writing Lab, to access a style guide there. So I'm just going to read the prompt to you now. I'm a little bit wordy with prompts sometimes, my apologies. But hopefully you will understand what I'm trying to get at here. Known for his Gothic literary style, Edgar Allan Poe embraced the grotesque, macabre, and horrifying elements of human experience to generate unique works of fiction which shocked, appalled, and entertained generations of readers. Poe, the great master of suspense, was also considered an American romantic and displayed many of the qualities of that literary movement, Romanticism, including a reverence for nature and the supernatural, emphasis on the spontaneous outpouring of emotion, social criticism of trends and institutions, and a focus on beautiful and ornate language. All of these elements combine to create an iconic body of literary work, which is as captivating today as it was during Poe's time. But what can Poe's writings tell us on a critical level? How can we analyze these texts to get beyond their entertainment value and into the deeper meaning of those timeless works? See, when you write about literature, you're not just telling me what happened. That's a book report, not an essay. In an essay, you're not just telling me what the text has on the page, but what does it mean? What is he trying to say? What is he showing us? Is he offering criticisms? What's going on ultimately? So, using one or more of the short stories we have read by Edgar Allan Poe, which are The Mask of the Red Death, The Cask of Amontillado, The Pit and the Pendulum, The Telltale Heart, and The Fall of the House of Usher, create a 5-paragraph, thesis-driven, argumentative essay which answers the following question. What can Poe's short stories tell us about the attitudes, beliefs, and or social order of the time in which they were written? Below is a list of themes to help you brainstorm a thesis and topic sentences. All of these elements factor into Poe's writing in some way. So I give you a list of themes. Now, it's important to note that the list of themes that I give you, you're not trying to talk about all of these themes. You're going to pick one, right? So let's say you want to write about aristocracy and economic class in Poe's writings. Okay, you're going to write about that. Well, which stories are you going to use? Well, I'm going to use The Fall of the House of Usher, and I'm going to use The Mask of the Red Death, and I'm going to use the Cask of Amontillado. All of those have that shared theme. Okay, you can do that. So I'm just going to read the themes off. Aristocracy and economic class, social class or reputation, nature and the environment, economic decline, religion and spirituality, madness and insanity, the unconscious or repressed mind, science and reason, science versus the supernatural, love and companionship, law and order, human nature, good versus evil, impermanence versus uncertainty, idealism versus reality. So try to use one of the themes, and you're not limited to these themes. If you saw something else in Poe's works that you want to write on, you are free to do it. As long as you have a thesis-driven essay that makes sense, you can do it. But use one of these themes to narrow your focus in terms of what you will analyze. Then read back over the text itself to find specific details which correspond with your chosen theme. These specific textual examples will be used as evidence for your thesis and topics and its claims. Try to pick just one theme instead of juggling multiple themes because you want your argument focused in a specific direction. Also, remember that the goal of your argument is to answer the question, what can Poe's short stories tell us about the attitudes, beliefs, and or social order of the time in which they were written? So do not lose sight of this question while you're creating your argument. really, with the question, you should pick one area, like attitudes, beliefs, or social order, or whatever. Like, what do Poe's texts show us about the view of madness that existed during the 19th century, right? So that's important. You are going to have to know a little bit about the history of Poe's time. And for this reason, there is a single source requirement for the Poe essay. I don't think I include that with Fight Club and V for Vendetta, but it's much more difficult to find sources for those anyway. And I think it actually won't be very much work for you to just plug a source. It'll just help you ground it in the history, right? You need to know something about the time that he lived in. So your essay should have all of the following: a header, heading, and creative title, a strong hook, that's the intention getter to draw in the reader's attention. If you took my 1102 class, I have a thing for intro paragraphs, which is hook, line, and sinker. You start with the hook, that's an intention getter. You move into the line, that's the context, which sets up all the reader's needs, all that the reader needs to know in order to understand the argument you're putting forth. So like if you're writing about madness in Poe, well, how did the world view madness before Poe's time? What about Poe's time was changing the view of madness? This is the kind of information that you want to include. It may involve a little bit of research, or it may just be like some general talking about some of the things that we discussed in class. Then you need a clear sinker, or that's the thesis statement, which put forth an argument about what the text is doing and why it matters. Topic sentences that are also putting forth smaller arguments about little individual pieces of the text. The topic sentences are going to go at the start of the body paragraphs. You need direct quotes with textual specifics to be used as evidence. So you're going to quote the text directly. Direct quotes, you're going to include parenthetical citations, and you're going to use those quotes as evidence for your argument, right? So I can go into detail in this more on the writing about literature video that I will release. Then you need parenthetical in-text citations, which I mentioned. You also need direct analysis of these textual specifics, these quotes. So when you provide the quote, you don't let the quote speak for itself. You analyze the quote in your own words. Explain how the evidence you're showing me proves the point that you've tried to make in the body paragraph. You need a strong conclusion to give closure to the argument. I do not like for students to repeat their argument in their conclusion. I think that's a waste of time. And again, I'll talk more about that in a future video. You need a works cited page, which provides citation information for all reference works. And you need to make sure it's handed into the turn-in Dropbox. So you're basically asking, like, what did Poe do to show what his society felt about something, right? It's a kind of a vague prompt because I want to give you the power to make the argument that you want to make. If you're feeling like you're struggling, you can reach out to me. I can set up a meeting with you either in person or through Blackboard Collaborate, or we can correspond by email or whatever, and I can attempt to assuage your concerns. But it's a pretty straightforward essay, right? What can we gain on an analytical level from what Poe is writing? Okay, that's pretty much it. So I'm not going to sit here and talk a whole bunch more and convolute everything. If you have any questions, let me know. Have a great week.